This is 40K Today, the show with more big guns than a Castellan Knight, that hits harder than a Smash Captain, and that's quicker than a White Scars biker, in a good way.
Hello and welcome to 40K Today. This is your daily 15-minute news, views, and interview show that covers the entire hobby of Warhammer 40,000. I'm your host, John Damaris, and today on the program, Duff stops by with some excellent painting tips on painting eyes. But first, Canhammer stalwart Darren Tse talks about his favorite Golden Boys, the Custodes, in this week's Faction Focused. But before we do all that, let's talk a little bit about 9th edition. Our 40K Today poll question of the week, live on our Facebook page as of right now, is this. With all the previewed changes we have seen so far, board sizes, Overwatch, new stratagems, blah, 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 who will dominate the game in the new edition? Assault armies or gunline armies? The prize for the best comment so far goes to our superfan, Tom Brown. Maybe we will see that neither gunline or assault armies are the best, and, well, a balanced army is better. Can only hope. Me too, Tom. Me too. I hope for the same thing. Our favorite Marines on steroids have finally gotten their psychic awakening, and I couldn't think of anyone better to talk about it than Canhammer Darren. Darren has been a beacon of light during the dark times for Custodes players for a long time now, and he's ready to celebrate some of the great rules they got in their PA. Oh my good 40K Today listeners, I am so pumped. I am joined by the one and only Canhammer Darren that is going to talk to us about those golden boys, the Custodes. Darren, how excited are you on a scale of 1 to 10 for the new book?
Oh man, if I was allowed to, I'd be like 15, 16. But there's always that argument: is can you really give like 110%? Is that mathematically possible?
Here at 40K Today, it is mathematically possible. You are a 15 on a 1 to 10 scale. I take that all day.
Yeah,
so
super excited.
Let's talk about it. What are you most excited to get on the table? So obviously Psychic Awakening has been, and it's War of the Spider for them. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. What are the rules that were previewed that you're most excited about or that you've seen in the previews?
Well, I got to just comment that it's a little bit annoying that Fabius Bile is on the cover and not a Custodian, but I'll forgive GW for that for now. But I'm just excited about everything. I mean, we can play all our units again. We've gone through a decent chunk of 8th edition having to just spam storm shields and hide in ruins and hopefully get an opportunity to come out and do something before we die. And now we can play other things and not die as quickly and have actually play the game. And so that's the most exciting thing. We get to actually play the game. And it's a combination of the book and the new edition, almost simultaneously coming out at the same time. That has really been a big deal for us. I think it's going to be a big deal.
I've been talking on the show about how good it is for Custodes players to actually have CPs, and then I've been whining about Tanglefoots for days.
Well, I mean, I don't think our book actually works in 8th, really. I mean, your average list is 8 CP, you spending 4 pregame. Now what are you going to do, right? I don't think nothing. It actually was written to actually be played in 8th, but it certainly can be played in 9th. And to help you out, John, we got so many other things to spend CP on now. We may not be spending that many on Tanglefoot. So there you go.
I'm not sure that's good because Tanglefoot is so good. So the fact that there's things that are better than Tanglefoot to spend CPs on, I'm not. Okay. So let's talk about that. Why don't you share some of the things that you're most excited to try?
I'm excited to try for sure many of the new stratagems. It's been a trend that a lot of the new armies getting new books are pretty stratagem based. Their newfound power comes from stratagems, and now that we're going to have soon the CP to use all these stratagems, then it's using the stratagems, which is where our real true power comes from in the new book. So I'm excited to just try them all out, and that's really fun. I don't know if too bad we don't get new data cards or anything because I love slapping the card down on the table.
Yeah,
yeah. I'll have to
There's something very tactile and very rewarding about that, right?
Yeah,
so, Can you share with our listeners maybe can you name a stratagem that you think is going to be really maybe even defining?
Yeah. I don't have. I'm embarrassed to say I don't have the actual name of the strategy in front of me, but there's one stratagem that for 2 CP it allows you pick one of your units, and everybody that attacks that unit in that phase does not get any rerolls. So this is I believe, a unique mechanic in 40K so far. I don't remember any other stratagem doing this, denying rerolls, and so that means you don't get reroll your number of shots, reroll hits, reroll wounds, reroll damage. There's a lot of stratagems that do all those things for armies, so you just cannot reroll anything against that unit for the whole phase.
You
Uh,
know what? You know what that makes me think of? Like poor grav devs in a pod, right? Because they're gonna come down and just be like, "What are you targeting? Okay, 2 CP. Have fun, boys."
Yeah,
So
so
good.
those chapter masters, can go take a break. All these rerolls, lieutenants, and reroll damage, and number like all these things can just don't count for anything. That is so amazing, and even things indirectly. So one of Custodes' big banes is Doom. All right, Eldar power
Mhm.
that allows you to reroll all wounds against a particular unit, and we often don't have many ways to stop that. Although we have a few more now, but now I don't have to because guess what? This 2 CP turns off reroll wounds, so we don't have to stop the power. We can just stop it, and it turns off guide simultaneously, and all these other buffing powers.
Well,
So that's
yeah, and I
amazing.
mean, I'm just thinking about like a big unit of bikes, or a big unit of Terminators, sitting someplace where because it looks like in ninth edition you're gonna have to like be able to sit in a place and survive for a turn. And
Yeah.
Custodians are going to be really good at that. They're going to be really good at that. They already have a lot of good defensive measures. So just adding, because I think there's also, isn't there like an ignore AP -1?
Yeah, so the problem we've had when we first came out, we were okay at surviving, but the game has just gotten so lethal. And it's especially that low, like AP1, AP2, but high volume mass shooting. Now you got like storm bolters spitting out AP1 shots. And so 2-up save is not what it used to be. But now Terminators, particularly now, have a stratagem that turns AP1, AP2 into AP0, which now makes you a boss in your 2-up armor. And so combined with some of the other combos as well, that is just super strong.
I love it. So you heard it here first. The Golden Boys are back in town. Do you want to leave the listeners with anything before we go?
I think I run a Discord channel where we've been huddling by the fire for a number of months waiting for our book. And since I cracked the review on Sunday, we've had almost 300 people join our Discord. So I think if you're ever been interested in playing Custodes, now is a great time to get into them with the new edition and the new book. It's a great time to play the Golden Boys. So people should come along and join us.
And we'll put a link to that Discord in our show notes. Thanks, Darren. That was Darren. Are you as excited as he is for his beloved Custodes? I hope that everyone could be that happy. Next up on the program, we talk to YouTube superstar Duff. Today's episode of 40K Today is brought to you by Frontline Gaming. Frontline Gaming is a one-stop shop for all your Warhammer hobby needs, discounted products, American-made gaming mats and terrain, and a full line of miniatures painting service and daily hobby content. And this can all be found at frontlinegaming.org. Welcome back. Have you ever spent a ton of time on a model only to ruin it when you accidentally paint googly eyes on your model? Maybe it's just me. I don't think it is, but maybe it's just me. But the eyes, they just vex me. Lucky for all of you, YouTube paint sensation Duff stops by to solve all of your googly eye problems.
Thank you so much for coming on the program, Duff. And it's my understanding that you have a little tip for all of us.
Absolutely, I do. And thank you for having me. It's a real honor to be here. So I just wanted to touch base on painting eyes. I think, especially on my stream, a lot of my viewers, when I paint eyes, they're like, wow, I never really thought of that. But it's going to be kind of a two tips into one as quickly as I possibly can give it to you here. Is essentially the first thing you want to focus on is everybody is using tiny brushes. Just because we're painting tiny models doesn't mean we have to focus on tiny brushes. I generally paint everything with either a size 2, 3, or 4 sable Unless I'm doing metallics, then I'm doing something completely different. But if you get yourself a really good needle point brush, something like a Monument Longwick, for instance, I paint everything with a size 4 right now from them. And the tip on that size 4 is so precise, it blows my mind. I can paint pupils on little Space Marines. It's awesome. So the best thing you can do to get a good pupil on your mini is simply use black ink. The reason you're struggling with painting eyes or pupils per se is that, one, your brush is too small. So by the time you fill your brush and get it to the mini, your paint's already drying out on your brush. 2, if you get your brush moist with a little bit of water, just dab it on your paper towel. Don't soak all that moisture out. That moisture is going to allow the paint, or in this case, ink, to flow off that brush so much easier. So that kind of segues into the next tip. Use black ink to paint your eyes. The fluidity of ink is so much better for doing that finite detail. Even if you insist on using a tiny brush, you're going to find that it's so much easier to apply that little dot.
So is that just like any acrylic ink will do? Or is there like, yeah?
I have the Scale 75, both of their sets. It doesn't matter what ink you use. You can use I think it's $1 Roning, the dropper bottle ones that you can get at any big box hobby store. But, I use Scale 75. The other thing is, oddly enough, if you ever find that you're getting like that deer in headlights eye look, that's pretty common.
Yeah.
I know this sounds bizarre, but you probably would never even notice it at this scale. But I promise you, if you try this, you'll see a big result. You almost want, especially if it's like a Primaris or something in the 40K world. I play a lot of 40K, so I paint a lot of 40K. So if you're trying to get this like really angry, like I'm going to kick your butt look in his face, turn the mini upside down, make his legs point towards the sky and his head point towards your body. Because when you're painting that finite detail, you have a tendency to pull your brush down towards your body if you're painting, kind of up and down. So if you turn him upside down and you put that brush towards the center-ish of his eye, you'll end up pulling slightly towards the top of his eye. And then all of a sudden you've got this kind of, looking down his brow, kind of like, come at me, bro, that kind of look, as opposed to, please don't attack me. I can't deal with this. I need my therapist.
I've been guilty of doing that on some of my Acadian guardsmen from time to time. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try this tip.
But make sure that your brush has a really tight point. If you insist on sticking to your 00s, so be it. But I encourage you guys to try to step up your brush size and keep that point sharp, and make sure you're taking care of your brushes. That'll help keep that point sharp. But ink just flows off the bristle so much easier. The reason that you're struggling is because the paint is drying so quick. And if it's too dry, it's not going to flow off your brush. So you're going to push harder to get more paint to flow off the brush, creating a big old blob or even a mess up. So using ink helps it flow off the brush quicker.
That is an amazing tip. I use inks all the time, but I never stopped to think about using them for pupils before.
It's so simple. I can't even remember who gave me that tip, but it made so much sense when I heard it.
Oh, it makes complete sense to me. I can't wait to give it a shot.
I hope it helps at least one person.
Well, I'm going to give it a shot, and I'm going to let you know, and maybe we'll get our listeners to give it a shot, and they should let us know in the comments on Facebook if it worked for them or not. I would love to know.
Look forward to hearing it.
Yeah, thanks for those awesome tips, and hopefully we'll get you on the program at another point in time.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it again.
That's Duff. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel, linked in the show notes below. Ooh, it's that special time of the show.
It's the model of the day, the model of the day, the model of the day.
Oh my goodness. Wrought by Vulcan brings us Tigurius, the chief librarian himself. Look, I don't want to tell you what to do, but you should absolutely check out the pictures of this model. It's an aspirational piece. What separates this model from most is the incredible freehand on the banner and his cloak. It must be seen to believe, and I don't even think I have the words to describe it. So in short, come look at this beautiful model by Wrought by Vulcan, and it just enjoy it. It's an amazing piece. Now, if you have a model that you think we should feature on the show, or you've seen a model that should be featured, let us know with our Instagram hashtag 40K Today, or toss us a message on Facebook. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. A big thanks to our content producer, Alex Painter, our social media superstar, Tanya Gates, and our technical producer, Seamus Ronan, for all their hard work once again in putting this program together. If you'd like to support the show, do me a favor. Just tell one friend about it and help us spread the good word. We'll see you all tomorrow, but until then, for the 40K Today team, I'm John Damaris, and that's what's happening in 40K Today.